Well, they're Locked In fans. Beetle Bailey here with Locked In Entertainment. Today on our shows, we got Durell Peart as a speaker. He's also an artist, manager, author, and music business consultant. He has over 17 plus years of professional entertainment industry experience. He has worked within the areas of artist management, brand development, marketing, promotion, and consulting. He has worked mostly within the urban and pop genres, but his skill set can be easily adapted to any genre of music. He made the decision to pursue a career within the music industry because of the formula of success in the industry is predicated on loving people and the ability to build meaningful relationships. So how you doing, Durell?
I'm doing well. How you doing? How you doing, man?
Oh, great.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Can you give our viewers a little bit of background of how you came about in the industry?
Oh, man, great. Yeah, so I've been in the industry now for about 17 plus years. It was interesting because I always say the entertainment industry found me. I didn't find it. Didn't grow up really wanted to be in the industry, but I was actually part of a hip hop dance crew back in 2004. And my best friend at the time had a roommate that was a part of that crew, and they would invite me to go hang out with them and fellowship and things like that. And then we got hired to do a gig around town here. I live in Orlando, Florida, so we got hired to do a gig here at the old Orlando Magic Arena where they play. It's the old building, not the new one they have now. But so we did a gig, and it was 18,000 people at a high school battle of the bands, and so we got hired to perform at one of the intermissions, and they had a freestyle session at the end of the routine, and they invited me. They choreographed me into the routine at the end, and so I said, man, this whole entertainment thing seems pretty cool, and I knew I didn't necessarily want to be an artist, so to say, but I know I wanted to be in the business, so I was fortunate enough to meet my mentor, LaShawn. He's like a big brother to me now. And he just kind of took me under his wing as a 19-year-old kid that wanted to be in the business and taught me how to be in the record industry and what it meant to do that. And I was fortunate enough to connect with him and work together closely with him for a few years until around 2008 when he moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. He said, all right, little bro, like I taught you all I can as far as us being in the same city all the time. I said, I'm going to move on, do what I got to do, but I feel like I've equipped you with enough to where you can kind of go on your own now. And so from that point, since 2008, I've kind of been navigating on my own, was managing an artist named Dakota. At the time was an R&B soul artist that I worked with. And we put out an album in 2010 called Us Against the World. Did okay. I made a lot of mistakes. We were young. But him and I worked together for a little while, and then we decided to part ways. And that's when I went and finished my degree at a school called Full Sail University, where I got my degree in entertainment business and was valedictorian in my class, advanced achiever of my class. And post-graduation, I decided to start my second company, which is now LockedIN Magazine and Marketing Group. And this time around, really make it more about me, me as the focus. I had a record label before, but this go around, it was more about me helping artists and making that the focus, of focusing primarily on education and how to help them get to the next level, and primarily working with newer artists. That's kind of where I spend the most of my time, is working with newer artists and providing them the help that they need. Because as they say, you help enough people get to where they have to go, get to where you got to go.
Yeah, and you did this all with, I guess you could say, born with a disability, but
absolutely, and I didn't even mention that part.
That didn't sound like have the that I have a very, very good friend that has cerebral palsy too. I don't know if there's different different stages of it or whatever. But
absolutely, yeah, there is. There's actually 5 different kinds of cerebral palsy. The one that I have is the most common kind. It's called spastic diplegia. And what it basically means is when you lift my legs up to a certain point, the muscles in my legs get tight. which is the most common form of CP. I'm thankful because I'm blessed and thankful because my CP is considered mild considered to most people, because some people have CP where it affects their motor skills and their physical. Thankfully for me, it only affects the lower half of my body. I can articulate my words, doesn't affect my speech in any way. But it hasn't been easy for me because, unfortunately, in the entertainment industry, there's not a lot of opportunities for us, people like me with a special need, to really build something, you know? So a lot of that is because I don't drive, so I can't really be in a lot of the industry cities that's considered where industry where people actually move to create careers and opportunity. So I've kind of had to do everything from where I am in Orlando, Florida. I was born originally in Brooklyn, New York, but I was raised here in Orlando, been here 30 years. So I've kind of had no choice but to kind of make it happen from here and do what I have to do.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing very well. I noticed looking at some of your stuff, you use the term indie creatives. Now, I kind of understand the indie, and I kind of understand the creative.
Yeah.
What in your mind is that, I guess, how can I say, is that a form that you give to people, or is just something that you've created?
No, indie creative. So the reason why I say indie creative is because, especially today, in the old music industry, you use the term recording artist, right? But today, in this space here, artists in today's digital industry is actually what I consider content creators that focus on music, because you can't release a project without some kind of content strategy behind it. You know, back in the old industry, let's be real, Michael Jackson didn't have to worry about content creation. You know, Whitney Houston didn't have to worry about content creation. The only thing that we would guess would become close to content creation back then would have probably been like the music video, right? Or a poster or something like that. But these days you have to have a content creator. So that's why I use the word creative, because there are all kinds of ways to create content. So recording artists, to me, this means, you want to make the record, but people can have a great record, but without a great content strategy, the record doesn't really, I say it doesn't matter, because it definitely does matter in my opinion, but it's just different. So I like to use the word creative that way. It kind of doesn't necessarily box somebody in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, pretty good. Like I say, that are you very creative, I guess, in your management style or in what you do?
Yeah, man. I think for me, when it comes to managing talent, everybody, obviously I have a management company, but I'm a personal manager, right? A talent manager. So what that means for me, I really do a lot of the day-to-day activity. So I only really manage primarily one artist. His name is Xavier Keys out of Chicago, Illinois. And everybody else I consult, right, or advise, because artist management is a thankless job.
I was going to say, is it 24/7? I can just see one of the people, hey, I need this, or what can I do to do this? Things like that, I bet, huh?
Yeah, it's a thankless job, and there's a lot of sweat equity involved and things that you don't get paid for. I always tell people that you can't, everything you do in the entertainment industry cannot be connected to a transaction. So what I mean by that is, most of the time when you do something, when you go to your job, you usually know you're getting paid to be at your job, right?
Yep.
When you're doing things in the entertainment industry, you have to do a lot of things just to create a relationship with somebody, to even down the road create an opportunity to get paid, and that's the difference.
Just like we're doing here, kind of creating a relationship.
It's all right. I equated to real estate, or equated to politics. Real estate in a way of when somebody becomes a realtor, they just can't just say, hey, I've just put my house up. I just started doing real estate the other day, and you should just come buy this house. No, they have to put a lot of energy. They have to do a broker's open. They have to do all these things just to get somebody to be potentially interested to put an offer in, possibly put an offer. There's no guarantee they are going to put an offer. You know, if you think equate to politics, I'm not the most political guy, but there's a reason why politicians have to raise money, because when you're out there going from rally to rally, you don't have people. You can't charge people to come and say, "Hey, vote." You charge me, say, "Come vote for me." It doesn't work like that. So it's kind of the same thing in the entertainment industry. Is you have to shake hands and kiss babies, so to say, and so a lot of things you have to do that are not connected to a paycheck. So I wish it was as simple as, "Hey, I know I'm good. I know I'm knowledgeable. I know what I'm talking about. You should just pay me." And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way. I wish it did. It would be a lot easier on me, because I know what my worth is. I know what my value is. But if I ask people, if I charge what I know I'm worth, because I'm working with independent artists, because I've made it my personal choice. This is just because I know this is where I'm most impactful. Is working with newer artists, right? So they don't really have, most creatives don't really have money like that. So they need the coaching, they need the knowledge and the expertise. But when you say, "Hey, here's my retainer," and my retainer is fair, most of them, can't afford it, even though it's not a lot of money, right? So you kind of have to factor that in. So that's why I do a lot of what I do is passion and just understanding that I'm walking in a bigger purpose to what I do. And that's why I continue to do what I do and meet people like yourself to get my story out there. The more and more I can do that, the more and more I can build a brand around what I'm doing. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. And we'll get into that in a second. I'm sure you have a question about that.
Yeah,
So I say that to say that when it comes to management, I say all that to bring it on back to say is artist management is like family. It's the only way it works. Because I don't treat my artists that I manage like my clients. It's just, to me, it sounds so disingenuous when you look at it, because there's so much you have to do to help that artist. And if you don't have that trust factor, if you don't have that family aspect of it, it very rarely works. But and you also run the risk of that artist thinking the grass is green on the other side. It happens. A lot of times artists want to get to a certain level of success, and if they don't feel like you can get them there, and even though you've been there from the beginning, even though you've been there when nobody else cared about them, they just, it's easy to get caught into the trap of fame and wanting to have all the eyeballs on you, and you forget about the people that were there for you and helped and wanted to be there for you for free when they didn't ask for $1. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
well, putting eyeballs on, you said something I think about. You think artists and indie creatives should be more global than famous.
uh-huh.
Doesn't it kind of go hand in hand a little bit, or how do you separate that?
Okay, so I think when it comes to fame, right? Fame is, there's no metric to gauge fame. I think people think, okay, if I'm, because people automatically think if people know my name, I'm famous, I'm automatically successful. That's not necessarily true. A lot of people can know your name and you could be famous for the wrong reasons. We see that all the time, right?
Right.
I think for an independent artist, the world, and I've been to 7 different countries. So when I'm talking about global, I'm not just talking about it in theory. I'm talking about it because I've been to 7 different countries, and I know what it's like to see to go to be in Mumbai, India, and see how people look at Americans. I work with mostly American artists to treat them as a rock star, and they're not a huge name, but because you can go to other parts of the world and you can create music is a global commodity. That's why you can go to other parts of the world and they don't even speak English, but they know your songs. They know their favorite artist songs because it just music moves us. It evokes emotion. We can't live life without it. It's impossible. It's impossible to go through life and not have emotion of music, you know. So I believe in being, and what happens is being global allows you to actually touch more people to find what I call your core audience. And that's what my brand is really all about, is showing independent artists and really preaching the core audience, because as a new artist, it's really hard to get to 1 million people that really love you like that. It's hard to get to that amount. It's hard to reach the masses like that without a big, huge budget. And a lot of artists don't have the type of money that it takes. I mean, just to give you some perspective on some numbers, if you wanted to break a song at traditional radio, right? Not digital, but traditional AM, FM radio, and on a national campaign, you're looking at anywhere between, $100 to $250,000, and that's just for one song.
Wow.
You're just talking, and that's not to guarantee it's going to be successful. So that tells you how much the major record labels are spending, and so what independent artists do you know that had that type of money to invest just in radio promotion? So it can get really, really expensive just to do that. When you're in the music industry, and I always say this, there's three things. There's the music industry, there's the music business, and then there's the business of music. And they have to be navigated three different ways, right? A lot of artists chase the music industry. What I mean by that is the tastemakers, the DJs, the record labels, the radio people, anybody that has influence, that's considered the industry, right? The music business is commerce. That's just sales, right? But what most importantly, the business of music is intellectual property. And how do you navigate through intellectual property? What I mean by that is understanding copyrights, understanding publishing. You've probably seen in the news where a lot of your favorite artists are selling their catalogs to these big hedge funds. And these big, huge. Justin Bieber just sold his catalog for like $200 million.
Oh, wow.
And what that means is they sold what so there's two parts of a song, right? You have your writer's share and you have your publisher's share. So most of the time, the artist is probably keeping their writer's share, but they're selling off the publisher's share. We don't have time to get into the nitty gritty of like how that works, because it can get very, 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 very intricate. But but when it comes to being global, it allows you to touch people and go to other parts of the world, and they love you, and it gives you a lot of much more of an opportunity to do what it is that you love. You may not be famous in America, you may not be famous, on the brightest of lights here, because see, America is, even though we're not the biggest by population, most people want to come to America and make it big. Right? Most people want to come to America and make it big, but usually a lot of times I tell my artists, like, dude, we want to go to other parts of the world, and because it's much easier to break through in other parts of the world than it might be to break through in America. If you equate it to sports, everybody can't be LeBron or Kevin Durant or you know what I mean? But you can go have a decent pro career playing in the Spanish league or whatever other league that's out there and make a nice living. It won't be millions and millions of dollars, but it's enough where you can live a pretty decent life. So I think, again, it's all about perspective, I think.
Is that why you, I guess, Joe, then wrote the ebook?
Yeah, it's interesting why I wrote the ebook. The ebook I wrote is really for hope and inspiration to people that look like me in the sense of having a disability and not necessarily being able to B, have the opportunity to work in the music industry, because there's not a lot of opportunities for us because there's just a lack of what we call DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just because people are just unaware a lot of times. It's not because they don't want to, just like it's just not a common thing. The music industry by default is a small industry. So like they usually kind of keep to themselves in the industry in general. So, but there just isn't that many. There just isn't that many people that you can say, hey, that person has a disability. I can kind of follow their path because they had a similar path to me, and it just kind of doesn't work that way. So I wanted to write that book so that people can get a glimpse of what I've had to do, even though it hasn't been easy. It's never easy. But but at least to hear my story and hope that I can make a difference. I can hopefully be inspirational, and that somebody coming behind me can read my book and be inspired and share it with as many people as I possibly can, and be able to do what they love. I mean, I think you can take hope from that and apply it to anything you want to do in the world. I just think the special needs community in general, there's just not a lot of people that take the time to take us seriously, and that's why I wrote that book.
You seem to be a very big inspiration. You've been in a lot of publications.
Yeah.
Is there one or two, or just one that really that you're proud of being in?
Oh man, all of them, honestly, all of them. I mean, I don't necessarily name one in particular. I just the opportunity to share my story, just being here with you guys at LockedIN Magazine, that matters so much to me. Because every time I get a chance to get a platform to share a little bit about what I do, if I can touch one person, I've done what I came to do. You know what I mean? So every time, I never take it for granted, the opportunity to share what I'm passionate about.
I get ribbed a lot by my editor, John, because I'm more of a sports guy. And I'm
yeah,
learning a little bit more about the music industry and the
yeah.
industry of music.
And
And
I love sports too. I'm a sport, I'm a big baseball fan, a big baseball fan, big baseball and basketball fan, casual football fan.
Yeah.
You know how most people feel about football, about baseball, is how I feel about football.
Yeah. I played baseball longer than I ever did football, but for some reason, football was my passion as I got into high school. So,
Right.
that's just, one of those things, that we get into. So, but you also do podcasts too, I guess.
Yeah. I have a podcast called the Encourage and Inspire podcast on the Got What You Need podcast network. I remember I mentioned earlier about my mentor, LaShawn Jones, and actually his podcast network. He asked me to do a podcast 2 years ago. He said, man, I want to start a network and I want you to do a podcast. And I said, you know what? Why not? That sounds like a great idea. So I started the Encourage and Inspire podcast as an extension of my brand already that I've already been, because the double N of my company stands for Encourage and Inspire. Right. So I usually talk about one of three topics on my podcast, either disability awareness, or I talk about music business topics, or I talk to people who just have amazing stories that encourage and inspire me. And I just love to let people tell their stories. My podcast isn't huge, but it's people who come really enjoy it coming on as guests. And I love to interview people. It's just fun. It's fun to hear people's stories. And it's interesting because over the years, I've been able to build a lot of great friends in the music industry, and to know that I have friends now who have written some of the songs that I grew up on. Like my buddy Kipper Jones, who's wrote a lot of Brandy, the singer Brandy, a lot of her hit records were written by him, and I can call him a friend. He's somebody that I've been able to build a relationship with, and to be able to talk to him and hear his stories and hear the background. Great thing about podcasts is people get a chance to go into the backstories about things, things that we don't necessarily always hear about in the traditional media space. So, so with the podcast, because it's a long form of media, a long form option of media, it gives people more time to kind of go in depth in things. So I like the fact that I'm able to talk to people and get their backstories about people that I've become friends with over the years, and just to see the cool things that they've been a part of. And so yeah, I just try to use that as a way to extend my brand, but also I use it as a way to talk to new people. Because who doesn't want to talk about themselves? Who doesn't want to share their stories? And so if it's somebody who I'm interested in getting to know, hey, I've got a podcast. You want to come and talk about what you've done in your? I mean, it's an easy it's an easy way to create a relationship, to create a path, to get to know somebody who you maybe have admired for a long time, and and you're not being intrusive, because you're like, hey, people understand podcast is kind of how we do things now. So they're not as well. They're willing to come on and talk for free. They don't necessarily are asking for a bunch of money. They're like, hey, I'll come and talk to you for 30 minutes, for an hour, to talk about what I love to do. And in turn, it allows me to create a relationship with that person. And you never know what could happen. You can never know what could happen in the future. Social media is a powerful thing. I think even connected with John, I think he just commented on something that, and this is most recent, on something I was doing on social media. And I said, hey, I found out that he had a magazine. And I said, hey, I'd love to come and kind of, can I come and share my story? Look, what I also tell people is never be afraid to pitch yourself, to talk to people, because you never know. You never know that
that was me about 3 years ago when I met him, because I was very shy talking to people. I would never do this in a lifetime, but he pushed me. And I'll tell you what, you put an impression on me. Have you put an impression on the industry of music?
Yeah. I always like to say, man, I'm not famous by any means, but what I am is, I think people that get a chance to get to meet me really enjoy just my energy, really enjoy just my personality, because I'm a positive person. And I think in life, it's, there's so much negativity in life. So many, every time you turn on, it used to be back in the day, you turn on the news and hear, but through social media, through the internet, through Instagram, through everything, news travels so quick, right? And so the opportunity I get to just to be a light to somebody means so much to me. And I always say, I always say this, you never chase money, even in the days where money sometimes, we all have our tough days, but I always say, when you chase value and you chase value, the money comes. I think when you chase money, it runs away from you. Actually, I think, if that's all you're trying to chase, if you're chasing making a difference and having purpose in what you do, the right people find you. You're going to deal with some bad apples along the way, some people who are just bull driving you, but you are going to come across people who are serious and who see the value of what you do and is willing to pay for that. So,
yeah, well, we talked enough about business. What do you do in your off time, or when you have some off time?
I have
Maybe like a hobby, or what do you do
yeah,
outside the music industry?
cool. Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, I love fashion. I'm a fashion guy. I like sneakers a lot. Um, I like to watch true crime. I think a lot of people like true crime shows. I don't do it often, but I like to bowl. I use a bowling ramp when I bowl. Of course, I like going out to eat. What else? I like to travel. I've been to 7 countries. So when I get the opportunity to travel, always great. But
Have you done any speaking? I think any speaking tours or anything overseas?
yeah, I've spoken in India, spoken in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So to Rotterdam is about an hour north of Amsterdam.
Right.
So I've spoken there.
Do they use interpreters, or does a lot of the other countries speak English?
Yeah, thankfully in India is very westernized, so they speak English. A lot of English speakers are in India. Obviously, in Rotterdam is in Europe, so they speak a lot of, even though the language is Dutch, a lot of them speak. They speak fluent. They speak pretty good English. So, I guess when I went to Spain, Spain is where you have Spain and France at times. In France, you have to sometimes speak a little French and things like that. But yeah, yeah.
So, what's in the future for Darrell and the Double D or Double M?
Man, the future for me is just continue to do what I do. Hopefully, write more books. Hopefully, be in more stages, and just continue to make a difference. I mean, for me, as long as I get to do what I love to do and make a difference, that's what it's all about. But yeah, definitely more coaching, more education stuff for me. I've got some cool programs I'm working on, getting ready to roll out here, to help artists and things like that. But just happy to continue to do what I love to do and to use every opportunity that I get to make a difference. And that's really what it is for me. I'm simple, man. I don't ask for much,
That's awesome. Can you tell our listeners and viewers where they can catch you out on the internet?
Great. Yeah, y'all can catch me. My Instagram is at Durell Peart. That's DURELLPEART. So I'm at Durell Peart on all platforms. My website is DurellPeart.com. So that's how you guys can connect on me. If you're on LinkedIn, again, Durell Peart. For those who use LinkedIn, and so that's how you guys can connect to me as well. Is on those platforms. So hit me on my socials. I will reach back out to you and respond. And social media is powerful, and it's the way we get to connect to people all over the world. So I'm always on my social media profiles, always trying to connect and make new relationships. So that's the best way to find me.
The world of opportunity, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for stopping out here at LockedIn Entertainment. We wish you all the best, and we'll look forward to seeing some more stuff coming out with, and give us a shout anytime.
Awesome, it's awesome. And can I send you guys a link for the book, and you guys can maybe put it in. So I've
also put on the links in the article also too. So
as well.
Yeah, we'll get all that up for you.
Awesome. And so by the way, before I go, the way I have the book set up right now, the book is an ebook. It's a digital book. It's set up for $9.99. But if you want to pay more than that, support it, you can.
Right.
So I just want to put that out there. So it's the minimum is $9.99. But if you feel compelled to support it by paying more than that, you're more than welcome to. And I appreciate all the support, man. I appreciate everybody's support, and I'm thankful for the opportunities. Thank you for the interview, man.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think I saw that there was 5 pieces of advice that you give on the book, right? Something like that. Is that a different one?
No. You probably saw my website. That was the 5 keys to how to help you build build globally. I think that's what it was. That's one of the free resources, the free PDFs that I have on my website. But I do have promo videos. If you go to my social media, you'll see a few videos on there where I'm actually talking about some of the elements of my book. But we're going to get ready to put out actually one full length video of all those clips. That's going to be on my website as well too. So I will eventually be adding that link to my website. But for right now, I'm going to just send you guys the direct link.
Okay.
And if you want to support the book, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. My mother lives down in Fort Myers, Florida, so maybe we get a chance to get down to Florida here in the near future. We'll spin on up and check you out up in Orlando. Then it'd be great.
That would be great. That'd be great. That's about 4 miles. That's South Florida, isn't it? So that's probably about 3 hours or so south.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did 3 years ago. We were down there for the Gasparilla Festival, and then the year after, I think we were down in Tampa for the Super Bowl, and we came up to Orlando for Camping World Stadium for the All-American, I think, football.
Yeah, the Under Armour, the high school All American game. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I live about 15 minutes from there, right from Camping World. So 15, 20 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, well, take care.
All right, Richard.
We'll catch you later.
All right, man. Take care, man.